Professor, hi class, and welcome to our first episode of Logistics 360. Today we're going to be taking a look at Horizon Foods case. Specifically, we'll be going over the SCQA and our competitive analysis. I'm going to go inside and meet up with one of my team members.
Hello, I'm Kalen Clem, and this is our SAQA framework, and we'll be going through each one of the topics individually. The first item we'll be covering is the situation, which will cover some of the facts that's going on with Wholesale Foods within their company. One of the major things that we discovered reading the case is there's a lack of collaboration between the sales and marketing team and production. Also, there's a strong pressure at the retail level to increase the service levels, which has also resulted in potential increased stockouts and the need for better production scheduling and inventory levels at the public warehouse. Going over some of the responsibilities, production is currently responsible for the scheduling production and the inventory level at the plant level. Marketing is responsible for promotion and also the inventory level at the public warehouses, and the national sales manager is responsible for maintaining contact as a face toward the customer and identifying any concerns or issues they have and communicating that back.
Hello, I'm Patrick Loeffler, and after evaluating our case, we've come to the following questions. Why is it that marketing and sales are responsible for the inventory at the public warehouse level, when really it should be managed by the production? Secondly, is there any point of sales information generated at the warehouse level, and is it being shared effectively within Horizon? And lastly, what is the approval authority within the company if we want to change production schedules?
So we have the following recommended approaches. The first is to transfer the inventory responsibility of the warehouse to production. So production can not only have responsibility of the inventory at the plant level, but also at the public warehousing as well. And that way we don't have two coupled inventories being built up and managed by two different parties. Second, establish the communication channel on point of sales information. Right now, there's that information is being sent back to production, so having some kind of communication path, there being some kind of ERP or warehousing management system to get that information back to production so they can see what's being purchased and build that into their production planning and scheduling. Third, marketing, that sales team provide future forecasts by product line. This way, production team can get out of the crisis management mode and actually look forward and plan production based off of what the future needs are, and then look at having longer production runs, get bigger batch quantities, and reduce the overall cost of the material. And the last is they consolidate the transportation carriers to leverage the cost and develop a direct-to-store transportation model. The transportation right now looks like it's being used different carriers between the inbound side and outbound side of the plant, in addition to the public warehousing. Public warehousing is using different carriers to the stores, which is one of the concerns if there's a delivery performance of the carriers be picking up from the public warehouses and delivering to the retail stores. But utilizing a common carrier, they can leverage that overall volume and get the best rates available. And with the direct-to-store model, in a situation where the retail stores are running out of inventory and at the point of stock out, there's no sense to ship directly to the public warehouse and kind of vert to them to get to the retail store. They should have a method to send product right to the retail stores to handle any outages to make sure they don't lose any lost sales.
The last thing we're going to go ahead and cover today is the competitive assessment framework. What we can actually see from this Horizon Foods case is that there is a large advantage in that Horizon Foods does $300 million of business, whereas the average 80% of the industry is only doing $5 million of business. This sheer size we see as their number one key to creating a competitive advantage. The second thing is that they are located in a niche market. Some of their spices and foods may be unsubstitutable, and because of this, we see that as an advantage.
So looking at the competitive assessment framework, we're going to take a look at Porter's 5 forces on the industry. First, looking at the threat of new entry, we're looking at that being kind of a medium barrier to entry, just because it's easy market to get into, but it's very capital intensive, and you're dealing with a lot of the bigger companies with their bulk purchasing power. They're kind of hard to compete with, but small companies can come in and compete on a specialty niche basis. The power of suppliers is relatively low. There's a lot of different suppliers that are out there to supply the industry, so we didn't really see the power suppliers have had much of an impact. Where we do see most of the impact is over on the other side. The power of the buyers has a lot of weighted impact on the industry, just with the retailers, consumers going to the grocery stores and they're picking through the different items that are available, and they can pick and choose your product or someone else's. There's so many different substitutes out there, which kind of leads into the threat of substitutes. There's a heavy amount of substitutes that are out there available at the product level, and if you have stockouts and you have a poor performance delivery to the stores, you're going to start to lose brand loyalty. So unless you have a really strong brand loyalty, threat of substitutes is going to be something that you're going to have to overcome. So bringing that into the intensive competition, this is a very intensive competitive environment, the wholesale food industry. 83% of the competition is relatively small, with companies that consist of $5 million or less. The industry growth is relatively small, around 4%. And as mentioned before, it has a high capital intensity. It has high capital intensity along with a high startup cost. And lastly, with the management impact, if it's not managed correctly, kind of like we're seeing some management issues with Horizon Foods, it can put you at a disadvantage.
After reviewing a quick summary of the industry and as well looking from the Porter's Five Forces view, we can go ahead and see at this point that Horizon Foods is not operating at a competitive advantage yet. If they were to go ahead and complete our recommendations that we've been listed in our presentation, as well our paper, they might be a key player in the future.
This was Logistics 360. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, please post them below, and we will see you next week.